I'm going to share my screen really quickly as we kind of get started here and go over a few things. Everybody see my screen share? Okay. So I wanted to take some time this evening. The Tier 2-3 intervention lesson plan is actually going to be due this Sunday night. I know we did an extra Zoom session, just more or less a touch base last Thursday night to see if anyone had questions and to go over some things. So I wanted to share this screen to kind of go over and see if there's any specific thing you needed to point out, questions you might have had over this lesson plan template. We mentioned in our conversation last Thursday night, the Tier 2-3 is a lot more in depth compared to that Tier 1, the very first one you submitted. So no, there was quite a bit more material and content to put in here. So I just wanted to share this and see if anyone had a specific question or needed clarification on anything listed on here that I might be able to answer for you and help.
I was kind of curious. I know you had us pick a evidence-based practice or strategy to implement with our students and to write that up, and I did. Is that what you want to see within the lesson plan?
Yeah, when you do, are you talking about the looking ahead at the video section, like when you're having to record yourself teaching that? Is that?
Well, kind of both. I mean, do you want us to like incorporate that strategy within this lesson?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then is that for both lessons? Because there's 2 lessons, right?
Right. I just want you to do it, especially for the one that you're going to record yourself on. I just want to be able to see that Tier 2-3 intervention in action on that. Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to clarify because it seemed like there was 3 different things, and I wanted to make sure that I was doing the right thing. I've started to write it up.
I think you are. You're on the right track, and especially like, and I'll talk briefly about it after we kind of go this lesson plan and clarify any questions here. But as we kind of look ahead at that lesson plan and what's really going to be kind of the focus of what I'm going to key in on when I'm looking at that. So I'll touch on that here in just a moment.
Okay. And I know as we get through it, there were some sections towards the end that I kind of had some questions about. Like the beginning was pretty cut and dry, I thought.
Okay.
I think.
So I'll just kind of scroll down through here. It had the key vocab section. And as we scroll down through here, we get into resources, materials, technology. Everyone pretty clear on that. Pretty cut and dry, straightforward. Okay. Then we're going to get down here.
I have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
It's more back on the page that we were at where it says goal, and then right below there, well, I guess 2 below that, it says write 1 sentence objectives in the ABCD audience. So I was taking the kids' actual IEP goal from the IEP and I was putting it in the ABCD part, correct?
Okay.
And then what would I put up in the IEP goal?
Go back up in here. Okay, so on that, you're writing basically a 1-sentence objective for ABC, the audience behavior and the conditions, degree format. So you would actually write the actual IEP goal up here and then address the ABC model in this section right here in this block.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. So like your goal for that particular lesson, the objective for that particular lesson, not their overall IEP goal.
That's right.
Oh, okay.
It'd be the goal for this lesson that we're going to do. Again, I'm not so much worried about their overall plan on this. We're taking a snapshot from that IEP. You're coming up with a goal specific for this lesson you're going to teach based off of the I'm going to say just generic lesson plan that was provided based on whether you were elementary, middle school, or high school that was provided. Okay.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay.
Dr. Posey, I had a question. I was looking at implementing Wilson's reading system. It's Foundations. It's their K first grade curriculum or whatever, implementing some of those lessons. Those are, evidence-based.
Right.
Is it
right.
Is that okay to take
Yeah.
those? I mean,
You can
take the portions of that lesson and put it into this? Is
and
that okay?
incorporate
Is
it. Yes, and I think if I remember right, you emailed me about that, and I was thinking it seemed like somebody did on Wilson.
Wasn't me, but
Okay,
yeah,
might
I
have
just
been
was,
another student, but I responded indicating
That was me.
that was permissible to use. Was it John?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Okay.
Natalie, I'm planning to do the same thing.
Yeah, I knew someone had. I couldn't remember which one it was, but they had specifically asked about it, and that actually, I think you emailed me last night, if I remember correctly.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's in our text. It's one of the programs they talk about, and it's
As long
something
as
that
it's
we
an
just
evidence base,
purchased.
that's the key.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just thought I would maybe kind of
Incorporate.
dabble in it. I'm going to get the formal training this summer, but I thought, and my principal gave me the okay to kind of get into it and
Yeah.
experiment with it a little bit. So I was going to see if that was okay.
Sure, it is. Yeah, and I responded to John last night, letting him know, hey, move forward on it.
Yeah, that whole program is a lot of fun. You're gonna enjoy that.
Okay, so I went back up. I'm gonna kind of scroll back down here. So if you see something, stop me. I don't want to just breeze right over something. And so we're down to the background knowledge and then the key vocabularies. Everyone all right to that point? Any clarification? Good. Okay. Again, kind of coming back up on the resources, materials, and technology again. And so we're kind of getting down now into the instruction side of it with the overall structure and procedures. So this is just kind of doing a breakdown of some of the things to guide you as you're presenting that lesson. And then if you look at the rubric too, you're going to see exactly the things that I'm going to be looking for in that rubric when you look at it. So here we have just kind of the overall directions, asking you to describe the approach you're going to take in implementing the lesson plan and how you're going to engage and motivate the students to learn. And so it's going to break it down here and talk a little bit about your opening and engagement, and you're introducing basically the link. You're going to try to link your opening to previous learning or assessment that's prior to learning, and how the students are going to focus on that lesson. And so you're just providing an explanation here, just kind of giving the overall format. Again, this is something that's going to guide me when I'm looking at it, so I know what to anticipate when I pop up the video and start reviewing it. Okay. Learning activities and procedures include some step-by-steps of how the teacher will do and what the students will do, questions that might be asked, and also include examples that will include cooperative learning activities that you might incorporate into that lesson. Okay, is everyone pretty good, clear on that so far? No. Okay.
Dr. President, I have a question.
Okay.
So we need to do 2 lessons. Do we put all 2 lessons into this, or do we have 2 separate ones that we create?
Now do what now? I'm sorry. I'm turning my volume up. Apologize.
That's okay. So you said we needed to have 2 lesson plans. Is that correct?
For this assignment?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to hand in, so the template that you're going over, I'm going to hand in 2 of these.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct.
And there's an additional paper that has some explanation, correct?
Yes. Got a guest.
Do these lesson plans need to be like sequential, or can it just be whatever?
No, it doesn't have to be sequential. I'm again just making sure that you understand the format, that you can go in and explain how you're going to present the lesson based on the data that you've gotten and based on your tier 1 that's been presented, and you're just kind of building on that. But I'm more interested in looking at the tier 2 interventions. Okay.
So then our tier 2 intervention is to tie into that science lesson, right? We're going to pull our kids and teach them something within that science lesson using a tier 2 intervention.
That's correct. Based off that lesson plan.
So we're incorporating the science thing that we did on the previous.
Natalie's looking like.
That's,
Sorry.
I guess, not how I understood it, I guess. So I guess I'm
Yeah.
on the wrong path if that's what we're doing. I thought it was to tie into the IEP goal that we had selected at the beginning. So like I
That's right.
selected a phonics goal. And so I was teaching a lesson that's going to help them work towards that phonics goal.
Right. So you've
So
taken
it's
that.
not have to do with the science lesson.
You do not have to specifically stick to the science game plan. Okay. Your objective on this for the tier 2 and 3 was you're going to take your case study students and you're going to target similar IEP goals. And then you're going to design your lesson after you identified evidence-based solutions.
Okay, because I wasn't going with the science at all. I
No,
was
I've
going a
had different
totally
ones.
different
You
route.
asked me about the reading. You can do the science if that's what you choose. If you're more comfortable with doing science, that's fine. You can. If you're more comfortable with the reading intervention, or if you've been more comfortable with math, if that's more in your wheelhouse with your skill level, if you're in a self-contained room, but you're teaching reading all day, if you're rotating kids through, all schools are set up differently. So this is where you've taken and you're going to develop that IEP go. Okay. Yours is reading. Tina might want to stick with science based on that might be her comfort zone, and that's fine. You're welcome to do that. Okay. The other one, Lori or whoever else, whoever the student may be more comfortable with math. And they're choosing math interventions and a math goal, and they're going to run with that. Okay. Julie, are you good?
I guess the lingering question is, do you want both these lesson plans to reflect the evidence-based strategy, the same one, or can we pick a different one for the second lesson plan?
You can pick a different one for the second one if you want. Okay. You can pick a different one for that second lesson plan. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
With our lesson plans, is it okay? I'm sorry, my daughter.
That's all right.
With our lesson plans, is it okay if they look very similar?
That's fine. They may look real similar if you're using reading. You know, and it's a similar go. I mean, they're going to have some similarities, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. Again, my main concern here is going in and looking at the interventions that you selected and how you're going to implement that, and then also how you're going to present that in that lesson when I review the video. Okay. So there may be some similarities in those plans when I look at it, but also need to see some differences too. I don't want it to be just a carbon copy of it. Does that make sense? Almost word for word.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Guided practice, simply you're going to just including the activities that you're going to use for guided practice in there. Okay, brief description there, closure, recap the lesson, how you're going to do that, and then any follow-up. Describe a quick activity for review or for building on the lesson that may deepen it. Okay, and then well, that's actually a continuation for deepening the student understanding and interconnecting concepts. Down here, you're going to give a brief description of what type of assessments would you include, an informal and formal. What would be some ways that you could do some informal assessment to determine whether that student has grasped and understood concepts?
Looking at their guided practice, teacher observation.
Exactly. Informal, you guys that we went through all this. If you had me in 805 or whoever you had for 805, there's a whole section on the informal assessments you learned about, and it's exactly what the title of it is. It's very informal. It could be an exit ticket. It could be, you know, popcorn answers, and that, you know, any way to is a quick gauge for you as an instructor to determine whether the students got that lesson or not, or do they sit there and you can obviously tell if they have deer in the headlight look. Okay, so just some way to informally assess whether they have grasped the concepts and understanding. Then we're going to go a step further. What would be a method that you would utilize as a formal assessment that's more formal to maybe get more of an in-depth view of their understanding? Okay. what might be a formal assessment that we use now that you're focusing on reading, and I'm assuming probably some phonetic skills. So what would be maybe a formal type of assessment that
The quick phonic screener.
Yeah.
Or using my progress monitoring, like with FastBridge, nonsense word fluency.
Yep. Exactly. That'd be a type of formal assessment. That's also a quick formal assessment too. Doesn't take a lot of extended time. It's very very accurate. It's considered formal, but yet it's quick. It's very accurate and provides some very detailed information for you as well. Okay. Anyone else think of a formal type of assessment that you might want to incorporate?
So I teach Wilson Foundations program also, and at the end of each unit, there's a unit test that you'd give the students that they'd complete at the end of their, or at the back of their workbook.
Sure. Okay. Again, that's a formal assessment, just like, and that kind of goes along with a CBM as well. I mean, CBM, some of those could be considered a informal. It could be, it's really, in my viewpoint, it's more of a formalized. And the CBM, if you go back to 805, when you had that course, you're doing that ongoing and collecting multiple data points to determine whether they're progressing and reaching the targeted goals, and you're giving it multiple times, right, over multiple weeks and collecting data points. So those are all acceptable. Anyone else have any ideas that they might want to incorporate on that formal assessment? Anything popping out in your mind, anyone? No.
I mean, for preschool, we use the My IGDs 3 times a year, and it has a section on there for literacy and numeracy skills. So that could work for me,
sure.
I guess.
Exactly. If you were really focusing on like a reading comprehension, one that's common in a lot of schools, it's formal, but it's a quick assessment. A star reading assessment could be considered formal. It also falls under the realm of a normed reference test. I've had students in 805 in the previous semesters that use that as an 805, and it's considered a normed reference assessment. So, but you guys that have used STAR, I don't know how many are here have used it or been exposed to it in your school system, or STAR early literacy. Those are good ways to assess their skills and get a good overall view of the student and how they're progressing along. It doesn't take a long time to do it, but it's also very accurate, provides some good information for you. Okay, everyone good as far as assessment, informal and formal, feel comfortable there? Okay. Looking at classroom management, just describe evidence-based strategies implemented to meet student behavior needs to help keep them on track and actively engaged. Okay. One of the easiest things to do just to help keep students on track is just simply your proximity and being up, moving around the room all the time, you know, and you can do a lot of things. You can prevent any type of behaviors from occurring, and as you're kind of going around, it gives you the opportunity to take a quick view at the students' work at hand. If you're guiding them through an activity, you can tell if they're definitely on track and get a quick view if they're truly understanding the concepts that you taught them. So that's just something I thought of, just proximity. Talking about instructional strategies next. Describe your approach to achieving learning objectives and meeting the students' needs. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? Just some instructional strategies.
Yeah, I think that's where I was getting a little lost, because I'm thinking I've already described what I'm doing up further in the lesson. So could you give an example maybe?
Okay. If you go on back into look at some of the readings or even some of your other coursework, and like it's talking about here, provide citations and references. And so if you're going to refer back to a specific, like in the Wilson method, if it gives, and Natalie and John's pulling the information out there, and it gives recommendations for strategies on providing instruction in, you know, phonemes or whatever it may be, you would simply just reference that curriculum right there, that you pulled the information out of that. Or if you're going back to specific, I'm just going to throw this example out, okay? And it's more for classroom management / preventive discipline, but Harry Wong. Are you guys familiar with Harry Wong, First Days of School and all that? If you would reference that. If you're going to implement some type of preventive strategy that he references and talks about in his book, then you would describe it and then cite First Days of School, Harry Wong. So if you have particular educational resources that you look at that describe specific instructional strategies that you're going to employ within that lesson, then you would describe it and then cite it in that section. Does that kind of answer your question, Julie?
I mean, kind of. I don't know. Maybe I picked too narrow of an intervention, and I just chose something from the Burns book to implement that I really felt like it would help my students. And it's an incremental response strategy. So would I just kind of rehash that in the section, describe it, and cite the Burns
and then
book?
cite it right there. Yeah, and you know your group best on this. What works for your group, Julie, and your school may not be an effective strategy for Tina to use in her district, in her classroom, for this type of lesson, or for Natalie, or for John. Okay, so it doesn't, and you don't have to list half a dozen of them there. What one specific strategy for your group and what you're wanting to teach may be sufficient. And if Tina's got, Tina, I'm just going to use Tina as an example here. If she's in a challenging classroom and she's got some really interesting characters in there that, may be very active, she may have to list 2 to 3 different things on there that she's going to employ within that one lesson to keep them actively engaged and on task and on target. And that's fine if she has to for her particular group. And they may be 3 simple strategies that work and are effective for her. So, Julie, if you had one and I'm looking at yours and then I review your video and it's effective, then you met your goal and everything's great. And then I look at Tina's and she's got 3 and it worked perfectly, then that's fine. Just because you had one doesn't mean you didn't provide enough information. I'm looking to see, is it effective? Okay. So every classroom, every situation will be a little bit differently. So moving on down, looking at differentiation, accommodations, modifications, and enrichment. So the first one, it just kind of overall talks about here, we're going to look at strategies implemented to meet the needs of all learners. Okay. So if you were going back and reteaching, just give a brief explanation here on if reteaching were needed to meet the learning goal or objective. Okay. If yes, explain how the lesson will be retaught. Okay. So that's where you're going to explain, okay, you go back and you kind of reassess and how did this go and what could I do differently and what would I need to implement to reteach to make sure my students got that concept. Okay. If you felt like it was an effective way, then there's really no explanation needed. All students were able to grasp the concept. They may not get it every time. On this lesson, they may have. Okay. If so, what's that enrichment going to be? What would you do for a way to enrich it? And you would provide that explanation here. Okay. Any type of enrichment activities that would enhance the learning goals and objectives of the lesson. So I'll put Natalie on the spot, just thinking ahead. Do you know of any type of enrichment activity you think you could implement into your lesson plan? Just kind of thinking ahead. Anybody, Natalie or Tina, you have any ideas on that? Some enrichment activities that you could implement?
I had to look back and see.
Oh.
I've been working on this, but I couldn't remember. My brain was
Okay.
fried for today.
Yeah,
So the
that's all right.
lesson that I'm doing is they're working on digraphs, consonant digraphs.
Mhm.
And so the enrichment activity was for them to be digraph detectives
Okay.
and be looking through some text to find some additional digraphs and apply them to some context.
Okay. All right. Anyone else think of a enrichment activity that would go along with the lesson that you're going to teach?
I thought about doing a word sort with mine. We're in the welded sounds and like a welded INK section and the ING section.
Okay.
Sorting the two.
All right. Okay. So those will work. No problem. Julie, you have anything sticks out in your mind looking ahead?
Yeah, we're working on well, we're trying to learn sight words to build our fluency. And we're going to write some sentences. So I thought, they could actually just try to make a story using the sight words and kind of build on for that. Yeah, I'm not sure we would get to an enrichment part, to be honest with you.
Well, just
It's kind of
just
where I'm
having
at.
that in mind,
Right.
just in your toolbox there, so you would have it. So,
Mhm.
so would you do some kind of a story starter, and then they had to build on that using those specific words, or?
Yeah, we could do something like that.
Okay.
My kids do pretty well with writing as far as coming up with the stories. It's just, and using the vocabulary part isn't really that hard for them. It would be
Okay.
constructing that. It might be a little,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next two areas dealing with accommodations and modifications includes any evidence-based strategies, accommodations, or modification to meet the needs of the student. So kind of thinking as you set up your lesson, what, if any, accommodations or modifications might be needed. Okay, so is everyone pretty much clear on that? Any question there? It's pretty cut and dry. Okay, and then also take into account any way that you might be able to meet the needs of students that have cultural or linguistic diversity. Okay, you may have that right now. You may be in a school where there's very little diversity at all, but this right here is more or less just thinking ahead. What if I were to get that student tomorrow? How could I meet the need of that learner? What would be something that I would need to do to make sure that, little Susie that's new to our district could feel engaged by something that I do to modify that lesson to help her. Okay. And you might be in a district where you don't have that, and then all of a sudden you start getting those in, and hey, you just feel like you're scrambling around. So I mean that's happened in districts I've been in, and you rock along for several years, and the next thing you know, here you are, you have a non-English speaking student. You're trying to figure out what in the world am I going to do. So, okay. Looking here, additional information, any area of the lesson component that was not covered by the lesson plan, but that you feel is vital to include in the lesson plan. So that's any additional information that you may want to submit or just put down after you kind of developed it and go, I might need to add this in. So not anything that has to be lengthy or significant in that area. It's just any afterthought maybe you've had that you think you could put in there to help enhance that lesson. Anything else over those as I kind of went down through there that you might have any confusion on? I just kind of wanted to take some time to go down through there and clarify any questions or any confusion that you might have.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about the, you scroll back down to the culturally and linguistically diverse students.
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of at a loss with that one. I do have one little girl. She is bilingual, and
Okay.
English is her second language. But that's Wilson is a really good program to help her, because it really just breaks everything down so they can understand it. I just wasn't really sure how to assist her further.
Yeah, just having and I'll tell you, the district, like here, we are having, I'll give you an example here. I mean, it totally caught us off guard. So in this area of Oklahoma, North Central, we are having a very large influx of Chinese right now. And it's all associated with the grow industry. Everyone know what I mean by the grow industry? Grow houses. Oklahoma, that industry is exploding right now. I mean, you just would not believe it. So medical marijuana grow houses, they're popping up everywhere. Okay. I mean, Oklahoma's probably got more than anywhere in the country, and so with that industry, it's primarily ran and owned by Chinese. And so areas of Oklahoma, these rural areas, because they can come in here and buy land cheap, put up these, enormous grow houses and set up shop and go. And so we are having an influx of those. So where I'm at, the district on the map, here we are, first day of school, we have Chinese second grade students showing up. Mom and dad speak no English. The girl speaks no English. It's Mandarin Chinese. It's the language they speak. We have no one around here that speaks Mandarin. So, I mean, we're scrambling for resources. So one of the things right off the bat that we did, and the teacher I have really has been thinking out of the box, but just initially, so if we had any type of document that we needed to present to parents and or in the classroom with the student, we were running it through Google Translate. And so you could scan these documents in, upload it into Google Translate, pick your language, and we could do that. That was something immediate that we could do. It didn't cost us a dime. So it's just little things like that. I mean, we were at a loss, and really we still are. We haven't been able to find a Mandarin translate. They're just not plentiful in Oklahoma. I mean, so
we use phone services.
Yeah.
I mean, in my community alone, there's like 30 languages.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you have a lot more than us.
So we just like Tingrinya is one, some of my students are that. I mean, we don't have somebody we can use, so we use a phone service.
Yeah. And after
I've held 2 IEPs like that.
Yeah. Kind of after the fact, of course, here we are at the end of the year, kind of starting to have those things pop up. But I mean, literally, we were at a loss. We were scrambling around trying to, I mean, what are the chances in, kind of rural Oklahoma that you're going to have Mandarin Chinese students show up on your doorstep? So John, it's little things like that you have to, whether you have to use a phone service translation or whether just the hard documents that you're scanning in and running through and uploading into Google Translate and then reproducing the document after it's been translated and handing it to the parent. And so those are just some little things like that.
John, just visuals, modeling, vocabulary. It's things you're already doing.
Yeah.
Just put those types of things in there.
Yeah. So you have that many languages, Natalie, in your district? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a beef packing plant.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so we used to it used to be just a few, and then it's just we've got Somali, we now have Afghanistan. I mean, we've just got it all.
So still Oklahoma State is, within 45 minutes, 30 minutes. And so Oklahoma has had an influx of Afghan refugees, Afghanis, when they were relocating them. So Oklahoma ended up with a large number of them, and Stillwater, closest community to where I'm at that has a significant population of them. So now we're seeing Afghanis here in addition to, you know, Mandarin Chinese. So yeah.
Yep, we have a little of everything.
Yeah.
Burmese, and there's so many different dialects
Yeah.
that go along with that. So there's a lot.
Yeah. Okay, anything else over the lesson plan we need to talk about? Everyone feel okay about it now after we kind of went down through there step by step and clarified and kind of broken it down for you?
So I, was gone when you guys started this on a vacation. So I have just want to make sure I understand like the sequence of this. So this week we will hand in 2 lesson plans and a paper that goes over this.
Yeah, basically it's a narrative that you're
Right.
explaining everything. That's correct, Tina. Yes.
Okay, and then the following week on the 24th, we will post the video.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about that and the progression of this, okay?
Okay, and then let me ask you another question.
Okay.
You guys may have talked about this too. Do we have to have permission for the children to be in the video? Or do we just show the back of their head possibly?
I would, and I think we got touched briefly on this last week, maybe, I think.
Okay.
If I remember right. But what I would try to do is perhaps show the back of them if you can, or we're kind of off screen. The main thing is I want to see the presentation of that lesson, if at all possible, where you can kind of keep them off or show the back.
Yeah, I don't think my little girl will be able to stay out of the video. She's
Okay.
4.
Okay.
She's going to be all over the
And
place.
so what you may do is also communicate with that parent. Just let them know, hey, I've got to video this lesson, just so they know, and tell them that.
Right. And I do believe, I mean, in our facility, every parent has signed something, whether their child could be in a video or
website, things like that. Usually it's in your enrollment package where they sign off.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll
now,
check on that.
In like going back, you know, I've mentioned tonight multiple times, and I'm gonna go back again and comment on, like, when you had SPED 805, we were doing all the different testing and all that. You would have to have those permission forms on that because you're assessing and providing that data and all that, even though you were using pseudonyms and all that, not the real name, but we still to get permission to do that. But usually on the video, website, pictures, things like that, they sign a form. It's part of your enrollment packet, and
I'll check on that.
So, okay, so looking ahead, you're going to submit that lesson plan. I'm going to review it, send it back with any comments as far as, hey, could you go back and add to this area, you know, provide feedback. And then once what you do, it talks about uploading or posting that, it says the edited version of that into Blackboard on the discussion. Okay, so you'll do that. And then you're going to go ahead and start working on that video. And you may need to go in there and edit a little bit of it. Okay. And then you're going to submit that. Looking ahead, on the 24th, you will post your edited or final version of that tier 2 lesson plan. And then you're going to actually begin editing that video and making sure you're good with it. And then you're going to also upload it that same week by the 24th, on or before that 24th, that video. Okay. Now, here's where kind of the group part comes in. Okay. Your primary goal is to look in Blackboard, and you're going to look at your team members' video. You don't have to watch all the other groups. Your main thing is, I'm just throwing this out there, Natalie, if you and Tina and Julie are in that group, you're going to want to make sure that you look at their videos that's been posted in Blackboard. Okay, that's where
Sorry, my computer was freezing some when you were talking.
Okay, let me back up.
So we're putting the video in the discussion board.
Yes.
Yes. No.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Now, when it's in there and it's in the discussion board, that's where your group part comes in. You won't have to watch everyone's video on that, just your group members.
Video, will we use, what was that, Julie? What did we use for our portfolio? What was that called?
I use Loom because I couldn't get that other program to work on my computer because it wouldn't let me download it.
Okay,
VidGrid.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You
is
can
that what
use-
we're supposed to use?
You can, any video format that works for you. Okay, as far as uploading the video, is that what you're saying?
Like I
Yeah.
said, yeah, I'm not the most tech savvy person.
So some use Loom, some may use Screencastify, some may literally use like where they're recording it using Zoom, actually, where they record it, and then they'll take that Zoom video, and then they'll go and upload it into a YouTube and create the link and just post that link in there. So there's different ways you can do that. So you'll want to, once those videos are in there, Natalie, you guys, you'll want to go in there and just watch your group members. Okay. Then that following week after that, when we start getting into the first week of May, and you see it talks about professional learning community, and we're going to talk about discussion with that PLC. That's when I will schedule a time with your group. And we'll set up a schedule on a specific night, and I'll Zoom in and we'll meet together as a group, and we'll talk about your video. And there's going to be some things where you identify strengths and different things like that. And we'll talk about it amongst your group on a Zoom session. And that will more or less be our final. That will conclude the semester. So that's where the group part of this comes in, and the PLC, it'll take place then. Okay, so once that's all uploaded into the discussion board, again, remember, you don't have to watch every video on there, just your group members. You'll go and find their video and preview it, and then we'll meet and set up a time to do the PLC. Does that all kind of make sense now, how it kind of comes together and that works?
So is there a written response form for the video? Or is it all just going to be oral when we do our PLC?
It'll all be oral. There will be something, and I will provide that to you. We'll have a Zoom session before our meeting. And so there will be a thing that I will provide to you. And it's all going to be it'll be just like a private Zoom session, your group and myself. And it might be on a Monday, or it might be on a Tuesday that week as we approach finals. And once we do your session and that's done, you're through. You're done. You won't have to worry about it. Does that make sense? So that's kind of your finals, what it is. And so that final is like our PLC. And so we might be on there by the time, because you're going to talk a little bit about your video, and you're going to share some things. And then Julie may say, hey, Natalie, I noticed when I watched your video, 2 strengths I noticed was, and she, going to provide some feedback. And so we might be on there. We may have to block off an hour for that to happen. But once we do it and we finish up, you're through. You're done. That's your final. Okay? So it's pretty informal. It's just we're on there discussing your video, things you're taking away from it, things you would do differently, gives your peers opportunity to express some of the strengths, things they saw in there they really liked, and maybe ideas they got from your presentation. So that's pretty much how that wraps up. That's what that PLC is that night. It's not anything that is extremely formal at all. And I'll kind of facilitate that and guide it. I'll say, hey, Natalie, why don't you go ahead and just kind of take a few moments and share a little bit about your experience and takeaways from this video. Now, can you give me a couple of strengths that you felt like you've displayed in that video, and what would you do different next time? And then I'll give them the opportunity to give you feedback and share strengths they saw in that video for you. So and then we'll wrap it up. Everyone
So
about that?
the only thing we're really using our team members for is to watch the video and critique them. Correct?
Exactly right. The PLC, and then offer feedback. to help each other strengthen and build moving forward. Things maybe you saw, John, that you're like, hey, Natalie, I noticed that you did something specific in your video and I wasn't really quite for sure. Could you maybe offer a little bit more detailed explanation and say, okay, you know, hey, I understand a couple of things I saw that I thought was really great. I liked how you did this, or I liked how you addressed that student within the lesson without really stopping and making a scene. You were able to redirect them and continue your lesson right on. So just some feedback like that.
Okay, that makes sense. I think the one that one thing I didn't realize is I thought we were just gonna I didn't realize we are gonna actually teach the class that we work with, but that makes sense now.
Well, yeah, you're right, to present that video of you teaching this lesson plan.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I do have, just taking a look at the syllabus and try just to clarify. So this week we're going to submit to you our lesson plans. Next week we're putting the lesson plan on the discussion board.
Yep. And you're going to be doing your video and get it on that board by that following Sunday.
So by May 1st.
Yep.
Is when we're posting the video.
That's right. On or before May 1st. And then you'll have the opportunity to watch it. Then I will start reaching out and setting up our PLC time for you to meet with me as a group. So it will give you,
week.
That's correct. Yes, ma'am. Okay. And that will give you time to go in there and watch each other's video. And then I will have a scheduled time for you and you will meet with me. And I'll provide, what I may do is just send out a like a Google Doc and share it with our class, and I'll have group 1, group 2, 3, 4, and I'll put days and times on there, and you just sign up for it. Okay.
Okay. So we don't need the video posted, just in discussion board by April 24th, just the lesson.
The final lesson plan. And then the next week, on or before that Sunday, you'll have your video up so your team members can view it. And then following that Sunday, I will have already shared that Google Doc with you. And you'll have available days and times, and your group will sign up. Like I said, it might be on a Monday at 8 o'clock. Whatever is the best time for your group. I'll list all the times that I'll be available, and you tell me what night, what time you want your group to meet with me. And like I said, from start to end, from start to finish on that particular time that we're going to meet, you just plan on an hour. By the time we go through and talk about each video and all that, we can do it in an hour. Okay.
I think the thing that's getting me now is all of our videos are going to be like 30 minutes long. I know mine will probably be, because that's how long my tier 2, my group time is. You have a lot of videos to watch.
Well, you'll have how many group members you have. You don't have to watch everyone in the class. You just watch your group member videos.
Oh no, I get that. I'm just saying on your end, since you're watching everybody else's.
Yeah, no, I will on my end.
And everybody's is like 30 minutes long. That's like watching Titanic over and over.
Yeah, no, hey, when I do, well, for your comps, that's part of it. You guys had to submit some video stuff. I've watched those. I mean, I was up till dark 30 last night. 8:05, you guys do your little mini portfolio. Those of you have me in 8:05, and you have to do the video, the mock IEP, right? So yeah, that's part of it. So we're used to that as far as the instructors on our side. So
I was reading in the syllabus though that it said you were supposed to edit it down to 10 minutes. No, or
you can go in there and edit that down if you have the editing tools to do it. Some of you guys may not. You may not feel that comfortable with technology.
Okay. So we can post the whole thing if we.
You can post the whole thing. It's not going to bother me.
Okay.
I know some of you guys may not feel comfortable with technology or have the ability or the software to edit. and I get it. I understand. It's not going to bother me to watch and review that 30-minute video. I'm used to doing that for other classes. So, okay. Everyone feel a little bit better now if we kind of broke that down and clarified and answered questions and kind of even looking ahead at the process, the different steps as far as the lesson plan submission, then start working on your teaching your lesson and videoing it, and then when it's posted, and then how I'm going to do the PLCs with you. Okay.
And
So
then-
depending on your group and when you sign up, you may be well ahead of the actual final date for the class. It's just depending on your group.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Depending on when you sign up for it. So
Sure. The only other thing I see on the syllabus is that on May 11th, by Wednesday, May 11th, it says the final exam or submit the passing certificate for the praxis.
yeah,
So if I'm not taking the praxis till this summer, I will take a final exam.
I'm not going to worry about a final exam for this class. I'm just worried about your praxis deal, and you can submit it to me at a later date.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, it's very busy right now with
Oh, I know it
early
is. That's why
childhood.
I'm
All of our summer birthdays, all of our kids who are turning 3 this summer, that will be an early childhood SPED next year. Our Part C kids, we have maybe 22 IEPs coming up in the next 6 weeks. And I just don't feel like I could be ready for a praxis.
yeah, no, and I understand right now. It's a busy time of the year.
Sure.
April always is. And, going back this year has been probably as tough, maybe a little bit more stressful than even last year, COVID and all that, just with a lot of things going on. And even realizing that we're having students coming back, you're dealing with them that are, they just have a lot of needs. They have you're seeing a lot more behavioral issues coming off of COVID. Kids have a lot more need, and that adds to your workload and your stress level. I get it. I see it with us too. So
A
take
lot
that,
of our little
take that into
kiddos haven't been
consideration.
around people.
They haven't
I
been
mean,
around people, especially, and I made this comment the other day to some staff members. I think maybe I even might have made it last week during Zoom, that your little guys in early childhood, of course, we know pre-K, obviously, but kindergarten first, and even some of your second grade kids right now, this is their first probably full year of getting back into a brick and mortar setting. Some of them, it's their first experience, period. And they've missed out on a lot of critical skills, basic skills, and they haven't been in a structured environment. And so that's new to them. And they lack the socialization skills. And so you see a lot more need there, and I get it. It adds to your workload. And I'm trying to, on our end, not just me, but whether it's Dr. Brooks, Dr. Moore, Dr. Yang, we know that, we see it. We're trying to balance some things out on our course load as far as activities and things there, to not pile a lot of stuff on you, but also still keep some rigor to the courses and all that. So just trying to show some grace and some flexibility on that. So, and try to be as understanding as we can. Because I see it taking a toll on our staff here. So I get it. I understand. I'm right there in the trench with you guys. I see it. And so that's why I try to want to work with you guys. Ultimately, we want you guys to be successful and get through these semesters and complete the program. And I think it says a lot that you guys are doing it and hanging in there through dealing with all this other stuff in COVID. Some of you guys started the program right in the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, literally, I've been reviewing your plans of study and making sure everyone's on track, the ones that I'm responsible for. And I'm like, golly, they started this right in the middle or right at the beginning of COVID. And they hung, showed the perseverance to stick it out. through it. So, and trying to balance everything. So you're on the home stretch, man. You guys are getting right here at the end. I want to see you guys finish strong and get through this thing where you can get your license and get out and not have to worry about it anymore. So that's how we're going to handle that deal at the end on the finals. So, all right, everyone good with that? Okay. All right. Hey guys, I will be available. We don't really have anything Zoom scheduled next week, but I mean, if you look on there, but I mean, I will be available if you guys want to pop in. It's 6. If you guys have questions and all that, I'll be available if you need to pop in there. It's not anything that you have to, but if you feel the need, I'll be on there if you guys want to pop in, ask questions or get clarification. And in between now and then, you guys know you can email and how I check those on my schedule. Okay.
And what day is that next week?
Do what now?
You said at 6 next week, we could hop on if we wanted to.
Oh,
What
on
day?
Thursday. Yeah, on
next Thursday,
Thursday
okay.
next week. Just what would be our a normal Zoom meeting time for, even though we really don't do it every week, and I popped on last week, but I'll be on there next week if you guys need it. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else before we go?
I had a
No.
question about our videos. I know we're using pseudonyms in all of our paperwork,
Yeah.
but my kiddos probably wouldn't respond if I called them the wrong name. So do we need to try to not use their names in the videos, or
If you do,
just
and you
not worry about that?
just again, and I mentioned this last week too, I would prep them a little bit and say, hey, you're going to be, Miss Jennings' special helper this week. And I may refer to you as this. So I need you to really play along and be helpful and all that, because it's required of the video. And if you can kind of express that, those little guys, especially, it's a big
Mine are
deal for them.
14.
Oh,
so-
okay. Sorry.
They're not little, they're junior high, but they're older junior high students
might just-
because they struggle.
Right. Just explain to them, hey, this is a project I'm doing, and for today, I need you to be PJ or whatever you're going to refer to them as, and just ask them.
Go ahead and call them by the pseudonyms I used.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I wondered.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, you guys have a good one. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good one.